For those that don't know me, I am Cliff Daniels, and today we're going to, at the request of our illustrious Vice President, we're going to do a inlay on the Scrollsaw. And here is an example that I've done several years ago. A couple of maple leaves and a piece of maple, and it's on both sides, of course. And that's what we're going to attempt to do. I have, the one we're going to do today is a star, inlaid into, I guess that's mahogany or some type board there. But you will notice that you have to cut both boards at the same time. And I'm going to make a little sketch here on the board to show. If you cut both boards at the same time and you have the blade as a 90 degree to the table, you're going to have something that looks like that, with a groove all the way around your inlay. In this particular case would be a star. And of course the thing would fall completely through. So what we're going to do to make it not fall through is we're going to cut both boards on an angle such as that. This is your inlay here, and because of its angle, it will not go through, and you will be able to fit it into the bottom piece. Now the trick is, what is the angle you cut? And it's done by trial and error. I don't know any mathematical way to do it, but it's done by trial and error, and that's what we're going to do. We use a scrap piece of wood from the same wood that we're using for the inlay. We've got two pieces taped together. We'll use those. You should always use the smallest blades you can to cut, depending on the wood that you're cutting, and so that it will come out and not be so much of a gap in between. You also obviously have got to drill a hole in order to get your blade through. And the bit has to be so small or small enough, but yet the blade can come through. I am using a 2/0 blade here on this. That's a pretty small blade, and in order to have a hole that will fit through, but yet not too big, I'm using a jobber's bit. It's a number 70 jobber's bit. Now that will not work in your normal drill press. It's too small, unless you have some kind of adapter on. So what I use to do that with is a Dremel tool with a chuck in the end of it here. So I'm going to put my bit in there, and then you just draw something on this scrap board. It doesn't matter what you draw. I'm just going to draw a square, and I'll use that as an example to start with. And I will drill a hole in one corner of that, and I'm going to use that for my first cut to see what kind of angle I'm looking at. may have to do that 2 or 3 times. Now I've got to thread my blade through that hole. And like I said, the angle that we will end up with is just a trial and error. So I'm going to tilt the table now to about 3 degrees. It doesn't take a whole lot of tilt. That's at 3 degrees, just to see how that works out. If it doesn't, we'll change it. And I have a feeling it's going to be too much of an angle, but we will try and see it. So I'm going to cut out this square here as my first try at the angle. You don't have to be too careful with it. You don't have to follow any lines, just so you get it cut through. You will take that out, get rid of your piece in the bottom, and then see how that lays in. You can see it came through a good bit, so that, can you see?
All right, you can now.
So the angle is not right. So I'm going to draw another example on there. Drill my hole. Did then. Now I'm going to reduce the angle down here from 3. I'm going to go all the way down to 2 and see how that works out.
No.
And then cut another piece to try it. Drop the bottom piece out. I'm just going to use something. Well, it's way too big. So I went the opposite direction. I need to make a larger angle. And then you run into that. I should know, but I don't always. But like I said, it is a trial and error, and it will depend on the thickness of the board too that you're using. And it probably will depend on the saw you're using. It's probably a little bit different than the one I've used here. So I'm going to change the angle, but I'm going to go a little more than 2. I'm going to go to 4. And let's see how that works. That's very close to what we need. It's you probably very close. I'm going to reduce that just a hair. And do another one. I hope I didn't go the wrong way. I don't think I did. I'm just using this to press it on in there. That's close enough. You can, it's a little bit recessed in there, but by the time you put a little pressure on it, you could have it exactly flush.
Push it this way, Cliff.
So now I will use that angle and do the star. And first of all, I'll have to drill the hole. And if you're not careful, your hole will show. It's probably going to show a little bit anyway when you get through. But the best place is to find a tip or a place such as this on this star to do your hole, and it won't be near as visible.
Are you intentionally drilling that on an angle also?
No.
Okay.
Now, if you were doing something in a thicker board, you would probably have to do it on an angle. I'll show you an example of that when I get through with this. But since the angle here is so small, it really doesn't matter that much about drilling the hole. you'll notice that I just tape the corners of these two pieces together. That's all I ever do. You can glue them. A lot of people glue them, some staple them, do all kinds of different things. But I have found just masking tape in the corners is quite adequate. You will also notice that I have glued my pattern directly to the wood. A lot of people don't do that either. But I think the reason they don't do it is because they use a permanent glue, and I don't. I'll show you the glue I use in a minute. Trying to keep that oriented. Let me just make a mark so I'll know. Don't fool around with trying to find out. Now you just take the tape off and separate the boards. Like this. Is your inlay. And you can just peel that pattern off. You have your star inlaid in there. That's the back side. It's like I said, you can see where you drilled your hole right there, but a little bit of sawdust and glue will take care of that. Once you put the glue in there, it's pretty much gonna take everything, fill in any gaps that might be there, which is not many. That turned out pretty well. Your pattern on the downside of your tilt. Don't drill a hole, tilt it this way, and then start cutting your pattern up here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Keep your pattern below the blade.
On this side of the blade, yes. You know, when you're cutting the pattern, you're doing it this way, and keep it always on this side.
So if you tilt to the right,
if you tilted it the other way, you would do it on this side. Yeah.
All right.
And that's just cut. The glue I use, made by Krylon, it's called Easy Tack Repositional Glue. You can and I spray it on the pattern, never spray it on the wood, spray it on the pattern and stick it on there, and you can reposition it any way you want to. And you saw how easy it pulled off when you got through. That is, if you don't leave it on there for weeks and months or something. Other things I was going to show, other things you can do by cutting at an angle. You can see that was cut. It's rough. I never have cleaned it up, but that's my wife's name. That's a real severe angle compared to this. And you can do a 3D. Of course, if you feed it the other way, it'll just fall through because of the angle. Keep to just like that. But you can make with your angle such that you can make a 3D anything you want to do. The Scrollsaw is a very versatile instrument. Most people don't really know that, other than just cutting strip work. But that's it.